and we are having a spirited discussion today. I have in studio with me Eric Barger. Online I have Pastor Mark Hitchcock from Faith Bible Church in Edmond, Oklahoma. He has a new book out, Blood Moons Rising, Bible Prophecy, Israel, and the Four Blood Moons. I have on the line, actually from Hawaii today, Pastor Mark Biltz. He has a couple of new products, Blood Moons, Decoding the Imminent Heavenly Signs. That's accompanied by a DVD that I have seen, and I've gone through these products, and I find them all to be interesting, to be timely, to be credible, but to be up for a debate. And that's sort of what we're doing today. At least I'm kind of firing some questions at both of them, because there are kind of two sides to the story of the blood moons. I think we could say that Pastor Mark Hitchcock takes the position that the current blood moons, at least of 2014, 2015, do not have a lot of biblical significance. Pastor Mark Biltz would take the exact opposite position on that. I have talked to both of them before, and we've even discussed this topic before, and I would have to say that my interview with Mark Biltz, which was back in 2013, was one of the most widely, popularly received programs that I have done in probably almost 15 years now, and I think that came from a position of curiosity. I think people simply want to understand this better, and so we're just trying to provide a format in this particular hour that will try to answer some of the basic questions that are floating around out there. Pastor Mark Hitchcock, let's go back to the issue of the reference in Joel 2. And again, a position you are holding quite strongly to in your book is that these blood moons, for anybody who's joined us late, would be heavily a tribulation-type experience. But let's go back to Joel 2. You wanted to discuss that.
Yes, one of the main passages that's used by proponents of the blood moon prophecy is Joel chapter 2. And beginning in verse 30, God says, I will display wonders in the sky and on the earth, blood, fire, columns of smoke. The sun will be turned into darkness, the moon into blood, before the great and awesome day of the Lord. And I take it here the great and awesome day of the Lord is distinct from the day of the Lord. The day of the Lord is primarily, many see as the time of tribulation that's coming, this time of God's judgment being poured out upon the earth. But the great and awesome day of the Lord, used here, also used over in Malachi chapter 4, I take it as the day of the Lord, when the Lord Jesus will return. And I see that as the context here. These are cosmic signs in conjunction with the second coming of Jesus. And verse 32 says, it will come about whoever calls on the name of the Lord will be delivered. For on Mount Zion and in Jerusalem there will be those who escape. So this is looking at the return of Jesus, I think, as he comes back into the land of Israel. The other thing, too, about this passage, it does say there in verse 31, the sun will be turned into darkness and the moon into blood. These can't be natural events, because if the sun's turned into darkness, then the moon can't be, you can't have a blood moon, because you can't have a blood moon when the sun isn't shining. And so these seem to be going together. So I think this is a supernatural event that's being spoken of here in the book of Joel. I think it's in conjunction with the time of tribulation, with the return of Jesus Christ back to the earth. And these blood moons we're seeing in 2014 and 2015 can't be related to the second coming of Jesus Christ or the tribulation period, because we're not even in the tribulation yet. So to me, when you look at these passages in their context, this passage, Matthew 24, Acts chapter 2, Revelation chapter 6, verse 12, the context of these passages places them in the time of trouble, the time of tribulation, really in conjunction primarily with the second coming, and they're supernatural. It's blood and fire and columns of smoke, that are in the air during this time. So these are supernatural events, I believe, and also it's fascinating, too, in these passages, 4 blood moons are never mentioned. It never mentions 4 of them on these Jewish feast days. These are supernatural events, I think, that God is giving us signs in the heavens as portents of the dramatic second coming of Jesus Christ back to the earth. And I don't think they have anything to do with the blood moons in 2014 or 15.
And Mark Hitchcock, you also make reference to, for instance, the Star of Bethlehem. You feel that was just a supernatural event that God created.
It talks about how the wise men saw the star in the east, and it appears when I read Matthew chapter 2 that they didn't see it the time they were journeying, because it appears to them again. It says the star they'd seen in the east appeared to them, and they rejoiced exceeding with great joy. And it says it come and stood over the house where the child was. And so I take it, like many others do, I think John MacArthur holds this view, and R.C. Sproul, several other scholars I've read on this, that this was maybe like the Shekinah glory of God or something like that, some sign that was given to them in the east. And then they came to the land of Israel, to Jerusalem, looking for this child, and then it reappears. And so I take it was a supernatural event or a sign. And the darkness at Calvary, the 3 hours of darkness at Calvary, again, I take to be a supernatural event that God sent, again, to give kind of the divine commentary on what was happening there at Calvary at the cross.